8 allegedly real paranormal encounters that will keep you up all night. Listen, a hospital corridor goes quiet at 3 a.m. A faint scream echoes from a stand of trees. A wrecked car shifts on its own in a scrapyard, and a pale face peeks around a hallway corner. Those are the bites you'll see in the next minutes. Some clips look easily explained. Others refuse neat solutions. Judge for yourself, but prepare to sleep with the light on. If you love unexplained footage, hit subscribe and stick around for number 8. Encounter 1, Hospital Night Shift, Alleged. She posts from the 4th floor where the night shift is always thin, and the building keeps its echoes. A young nurse, voice steady, walks a slow loop with her phone on a gimbal. Fluorescent lights hum above. Cameras tilt to a nurse's station, where a patient chart is left open on the counter. Then the lights flicker, brief like a breath. A drawer inches open without anyone touching it. A soft metallic clink follows. Then the camera finds a row of shoes neatly lined, all facing the door, as if waiting. The clip pauses. Later that same night, in a low-angle shot, nothing we can see, seems to nudge a tray of sterile instruments. Metal slides. The nurse freezes, whispering, "Did you see that?" Her tone is calm but not casual. She sounds practiced in staying composed. Viewers online flag one detail. On this floor, family members of a patient had reportedly performed a clandestine ritual the week before. Others point out that old HVAC systems can cause cabinets to shift, and that shaky gimbal footage sometimes makes objects appear to move. No verified explanation exists. The uploader calls it unsettling and leaves the timestamps for you to judge. Possible explanations: vibration from nearby maintenance, draft from an HVAC vent, subtle editing, or an intentionally staged setup. Unresolved: why do the shoes line up toward the door? Why the repeated, solitary movement focused in the same corner? Would you spend the night on that floor? Encounter 2, Scream in the Woods, Alleged. A group of friends jokes under a starless canopy, flashlights carving cones in the darkness. They're recording for laughs when a sound frays the air. A scream, high and raw, and then a second voice that could be crying or chanting. They freeze. Cameras pan toward a thin trail of trees. Hanging from a limb like some crude mobile is an arrangement of twine and trinkets. A small ritual object, feathers and beads, knotted as if to hold something in place. The teens back away, breath quick. One whispers, "That sounded like a woman." Another says it could be an animal. They debate whether to call the police, then decide to leave the scene and post the clip later. In the comments, some viewers insist the audio contains layered human sounds, possibly edited to heighten fear. Others caution, if this clip involves a potential crime, authorities should be notified. Speculation is dangerous and unhelpful. Possible explanations: wildlife vocalizations, pranksters, audio manipulation, or a genuine, disturbing event tied to a ritualistic placement. Unresolved: who made the hanging object, and why was there that scream just as they approached? The most chilling thing: no one returns to investigate, and the object is still there in the footage when it cuts. If that gave you chills, wait until number 3. Encounter 3, The Scrapyard Car, Alleged. A scrapyard owner records late at sunset, rows of crushed frames and corrugated metal walls catching the last light. His camera rests on a tripod as he narrates. One car in particular doesn't behave. In one clip, the rusted hood creaks and then lifts an inch, though there's no obvious mechanical reason. In another, a dangling license plate trembles as if someone brushed past, yet no figure appears between the camera and the vehicle. Then his little boy walks the aisles collecting spare parts. The child points, matter of fact. "She's over there," he says, and in his small voice describes a woman walking between the rows, pale, no hair on one side, he says, as if remembering a dream. The father looks where the child is pointing and sees nothing. Later, the father plays back footage and finds a faint, human-shaped blur that seems to step between two cars for half a second, then vanish. Possible explanations? Optical artifacts from sunlight and dust. Pareidolia, the brain obligingly shapes random cues into faces. Or a deliberate hoax using movement hidden off-camera. Viewers who know the yard suggest certain vehicles settle on their own weight, and wind can act strangely between metal canopies. Still, the child's report and the coincident blur create an uncanny match that many call unexplained. Unresolved. Is the yard host to an actual residual presence attached to that damaged car? Or did a tired child invent a phantom shaped by stories? Listen to the clip. Does that hood move with intention? Now watch this. No footsteps, no wind, just movement. Encounter 4. Ujia Aftermath, alleged. This is a short, crisp TikTok. A homeowner films from the hallway, the camera tilted to catch a pale chicafic ringed around a doorway. He tells the camera that his father once experimented with a Ouija board in the house years ago, and that since then, strange sounds cropped up. In the clip, a light flicks on in the entryway, then a door slams hard enough to echo. The cameraman's voice cracks. That wasn't the wind. The pale face appears for a heartbeat, a sliver of skin against the dark hallway, peering as if checking the room's temperature. The uploader posts a caption calling it a portal opened by the board. Viewers split. Skeptics point to light leak from outside, reflections from a TV screen, or an off-camera prankster using a timer. Viewers who know the yard suggest certain vehicles settle on their own weight, and wind can act strangely between metal canopies. Still, the child's report and the coincident blur create an uncanny match that many call unexplained. Unresolved. Is the yard host to an actual residual presence attached to that damaged car? Or did a tired child invent a phantom shaped by stories? Listen to the clip. Does that hood move with intention? Now watch this. No footsteps, no wind, just movement. Encounter 4. Ujia Aftermath, alleged. Others note the timing of the face and the slam and say that people who play with Ouija report similar follow-on events. Possible explanations: staged content, reflections, sleep-deprived pareidolia, or a coincidental household noise filmed at an eerie angle. The uploader refuses to demonstrate the board on camera and warns others not to use such tools, a rare voice of restraint. Unresolved. Did the father create a pattern of behavior the house absorbed, or is this clip a crafted micro-story meant to unsettle? The peak and the slam line up too neatly to be comfortable. One viewer called this proof, another called it a perfect setup. Encounter 5. Abandoned building, Middle East, alleged. An urban explorer treks through a deserted structure. Long corridors, patterned tiles cracked by time, layers of dust scored by previous footsteps. He films with steady breath. At first, there's nothing but the scrape of his own soles and the soft hiss of wind through broken glass. Then, in a courtyard shot, a pile of metal boxes slides across stone by itself, inches at a time. A cup rolls, a curtain twitches. No one crosses the frame, and the timestamps show the movements happen slowly, as if nudged by invisible fingers. He posts several clips from different rooms, light objects moving the same way, doors gently swinging. Commenters familiar with local abandoned sites suggest that thermal shifts, sun striking a wall differently, trapped air pockets releasing, can cause such slow movements. Others point to hidden cameras or remote triggers, noting the explorer's presence draws attention online and could be lucrative. Possible explanations: environmental conditions, camera tricks, magnets or hidden strings, or a genuine residual phenomenon tied to the place's past. No verified investigator links to official records are presented. Unresolved. If these are intentional effects, who set them up and why? If they aren't, what force is patient enough to move objects little by little on camera across multiple rooms? Now hold your breath. The next one slams. Encounter 6. Scotland, the violent window, alleged. Friends explore an abandoned Victorian building on a damp Scottish moor. The wind is an obvious suspect here, but in the footage, a window slams inward with a force that sounds like someone on the other side trying to get out. They circle the room, cameras catching the whole frame. The latch is intact, no hand is visible. The glass rattles, not simply blown by wind, but pushed. The shot lingers on the sill, where a smear appears, as though something had pressed against the pane from inside moments earlier. One friend bangs on the glass after it slams, calling hello. No reply. They back away, voices low. Online debate centers on whether the window could be rigged with a spring or if thermal pressure could create a suction effect. Skeptical viewers note how the sound design in the clip is crisp and could have been enhanced for effect. Yet several commenters with experience in old buildings agree. Sometimes windows act in ways that don't match simple drafts. Possible explanations: trapped air pressure changes, mechanical failure of hinges, staged activity, or an encounter with an unseen occupant. Unresolved? That smear on the glass. What made it, and why does the motion feel aggressive instead of passive? Would you go back inside? Encounter 7. The hutch from Grandma, alleged. A collector wins an estate auction and brings home an old hutch full of a late grandmother's things. He unpacks letters, a small porcelain doll, and an ornate chair cushion. After he says out loud, "If that's you, show me a sign," the lights swing in the room and a chair on the second floor creaks as if someone just sat and then left. The camera pans to the hutch doors, which open by a quarter turn despite being latched. He records again the next day. A small wooden figurine that had been centered on a shelf is found on the floor inches away, as if nudged by a finger. He's solemn when he tells the story, not dramatic. Many viewers respond with sympathy. Grief can create longing, and objects tied to loved ones often become centers for projection. Others point out the simple physics. Old latches bind and release, houses settle, vibrations from passing vehicles can shift unsecured objects. Possible explanations: gravity and house settling, deliberate placement to boost video views, or an owner experiencing a meaningful subjective contact with an ancestor. Unresolved? Is this a grief-driven pattern of interpretation, or did something attach itself to the hutch when it left the house it belonged to? If you felt a pang of tenderness there, remember, attachment can produce signs that feel real and sacred, whether they're internal or external. Encounter 8. Escalation, home haunting, alleged. This is the longest thread and the one viewers link to the title most often. A young man starts by documenting small, easily missable things. A music box in a child's room plays for a second and then stops. Utensils find their way off a shelf. A picture frame tilts. He posts these clips almost like a diary. Over weeks, the incidents escalate. A heavy pot slides across a counter by itself. A persistent knocking begins at 2:12 a.m. nightly. A door that had been wedged open slams repeatedly when no one is in the hall. The camera captures a particularly unnerving moment. From a hallway angle, a thin, pale silhouette slips across the doorway behind him, not in focus, not fully formed, and is gone before he turns. In another clip, the music box spins and plays a full phrase without being wound. He starts to speak to the camera differently. The jokes thin out. He asks for a name. When he leaves the lights on and calls a friend over, the friend hears knocks that correspond with the heartbeat-like pattern implied in earlier clips. In the comments, some accuse him of dramatizing for views. Others say the escalation pattern mirrors many genuine haunting reports, small anomalies mounting into a pattern that cannot be ignored. Possible explanations: staged escalation for audience growth, prankster interference, psychological projection amplified by sleep deprivation, or a possible intelligent phenomenon that mimics human behavior, a mimic that watches and learns. He never uses occult tools on camera, and he warns viewers not to attempt confrontation. The father of a childhood friend suggests looking at domestic explanations first: pipes, rodents, or loose wiring. Unresolved, the silhouette. Is it an artifact of grainy footage or a figure attempting to be seen? The most disturbing aspect is the escalation itself. Whether staged or genuine, someone's life was progressively disrupted. Which one convinced you the most? Final recap. 8 alleged encounters, 8 messy mosaics of sound, motion, and eyewitness report. Hospital drawers that slide alone. A scream in the woods and a ritual object. A scrapyard car and a child's single-syllable testimony. A pale face after a Ouija story. Objects shifting in abandoned corridors. A Scottish window slamming from the inside. A hutch carrying more than memories. A home that grows stranger night by night. Across these clips, patterns repeat. Small, ambiguous incidents that either fizzle or worsen. Witnesses who are sometimes calm, sometimes unnerved. Commenters who provide mundane explanations, and others who point towards something else. We can call some of these easily explainable, and some stubbornly inexplicable. None of them is proof. All of them are stories that linger. So what do you think? Paranormal, hoax, or natural cause? Vote in the comments and tell us which one convinced you. If you have footage we should see, email it to submissions@example.com. But please, no trespassing, no risky investigations, and no occult instructions. If a clip implies a crime, contact your local authorities instead of speculating online. One last thought. Some things on camera demand an answer. Some demand only attention. Which kind keeps you up at night?